you're clueless. Look at the birds. You see them dropping down dead. Look at the lilies. They go through seasons, yet they still beautiful. So what you stressed out about? In fact, your view on life needs to be watch what happens next. Because you can't see the future. And the worst thing you could do is stress out about your future. If you stress it out about the future, you basically say your future is grim. So your whole outlook needs to be, you know what? Watch what happens next. Just like Job. Watch what happens next. Just like Daniel and the lions then. Watch what happens next. David and Goliath. Watch what happens next. It's as simple as that. I can't see the future, but I know one thing. If I can think about the future, it can be good. I can think, that's the thing. I don't know what can happen, but I can think something bad can happen. Watch what happens next. Anyway, so God, pray you may bless us, guys. Check this. And help us in all things, the Heavenly Father, to watch the right things. And if we don't know what to watch, help us to open up that Bible, the Heavenly Father, and watch your word come to pass. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
The views expressed on this program are not the views of ZNS TV 13 and, by extension, the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
At Parole 1, I'm Ted Jervis, and this is ZNS.
ZNS News is brought to you by the new BTC. Fiber is here. Faster, stronger, more reliable. Together, we are unstoppable. Switch today.
Coming up in the Bahamas tonight, the weekend edition, the rise in child abuse cases in the country, prompting a national appeal from the nation's chief. Final preparations underway in Washington, D.C. for the inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump. Tonight, full team coverage from our ZNS News team. In sports, Jazz and Yankees avoid arbitration. The Bahamas tonight, the weekend edition starts now. So glad that you can join us. Welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the weekend edition. I'm Desmond Saunders. The nation's chief, Prime Minister, the Honorable Philip Davis, expressing concerns over the rise in child abuse cases in the country. Speaking at the National Forum on the Primary Prevention of Violence in the Bahamas at the Bahama Convention Center, Prime Minister Davis highlighted the painful reality of children growing up in abusive homes and its spiraling impact on the country.
Violence diminishes our collective potential, erodes our communities, and casts a long shadow over future generations. In the Bahamas, we are painfully familiar with the cost of violence. Every year, hundreds of children endure abuse. 583 last year alone, a figure that continues to climb. Gender-based violence remains a blight on our nation, with 1 in 4 Bahamian women experiencing physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. Homicides, suicides, and violent assaults remain stubbornly high. And while we have seen progress in some areas, the persistence of these trends reminds us that much work remains.
Prime Minister Davis says the government remains committed to safeguarding and supporting victims of violence, particularly women and children, with the passing of the recent Protection Against Violence Bill 2023.
Viewing violence as a public health issue allows us to prioritize prevention, address the root causes, and develop policies grounded in data and evidence. This perspective also calls for collaboration across every sector of society. Violence is not just a matter for the police or the courts. It impacts our health systems, our education systems, and our economic prospects. It demands an integrated response, bringing together government agencies, community leaders, and international partners to address its dimensions.
Prime Minister Davis says the establishment of the Protection Against Violence Commission is another initiative of his administration to tackle the scourge. Davis says regional cooperation on issues of violence is key to addressing this issue, as violence is a challenge that is to be confronted, a crisis to be addressed, and a cycle to be broken. A 31-year-old male listed in serious condition in hospital following an overnight shooting on Blue Hill Road near Moonshine Drive. Police say the victim and the suspect were engaged in an argument that escalated during the confrontation. It was reported that the victim produced a knife and the suspect produced a firearm. The suspect then discharged several shots at the victim before fleeing the scene. The victim sustained gunshot injuries to his face and lower body. Police now following significant leads into this matter. Well, police need your help tonight in locating 30-year-old Kendrick Lundy. He's wanted by the Criminal Investigations Department for armed robbery. Butler Street, Nassau Village was his last known address. He stands 5 feet 9 inches tall, a slim build, and of dark complexion. Anyone with information about his whereabouts is asked to call the Criminal Investigations Department at 502-9991 or Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS. National Security, the Honorable Wayne Monroe, providing an update to reporters recently on the Parole Act, expected to be presented to Parliament soon. The proposed bill seeks to clean up and change the current system in which prisoners serve their time.
That has gone to law reform, and they will now have to have a look at it, look at all the comments, and finalize a version that we would then take to Cabinet for approval to table in the House, hopefully before the end of this quarter.
The goal is for everyone to serve their sentence one way or another. He hopes the act can bring about much-needed reforms to the justice system.
When we were doing the consultation period, we came and we had a meeting with the inmates themselves to explain to them a number of things. One, the act doesn't apply to them because it can only apply to people whose punishment at the earliest happens after it's passed, and because the first effect of the act is to do away with remission. Right now, if you come to prison and the court sends you for 12 months, Commissioner Clare will tell you he's going to release you after 8 months, because 4 months comes off right away. 4 months of every year. The first thing the act is going to do is do away with that. No time will disappear. You will serve 12 months. 8 months may be in the facility, 4 months will be in the community. The difference is this. Under the current system, if you get out after 8 months and you commit a crime that very day, you never serve the balance of those 4 months. With parole, if you get out after 8 months on parole and you commit an offense on day one, you're returned to the facility to serve those 4 months. And so that's a reversal. That can't apply to anyone who's already in there because it's actually taking away something they have.
A legal expert weighing in tonight on that recent injunction issued by the Supreme Court ordering affiliates of the Trade Union Congress to return to work after 2 days of industrial action. The unrest impacting key services in the country. Retired Judge Carol Munnings-Miserick says an injunction is a first round of discourse toward resolving any dispute.
Someone is concerned that there's a situation of urgency that needs to be, and there's a situation that needs to be protected. So the party that's applying is trying to maintain the status quo, meaning in the case of the injunctions that work continues as it normally would. With the airports and airlines and with the hospital and so on, that services continue to be provided. So the various entities that applied for the injunction wanted to make sure that those public services continue to be provided by saying to the unions, you're injuncted. You cannot proceed with strike and related actions.
Well, she says the next step is possibly having the injunction lifted. This action dependent on the union's presentation to the court of a valid reason for lifting it. Otherwise, the instruction from the court will remain. The return date for all parties, January 28th.
It's a normal procedure in granting an injunction that the court will grant the injunction and also give a time for the other side to be served, given notice, and come in to say why the injunction ought to continue or it ought to be lifted. So the parties against whom the injunction was issued will make the application to the court. They will file their affidavits and evidence and say why they ought to be allowed to proceed with the strike activities.
You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, the weekend edition. There's more after this.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Call Smart Pass, the smart way to pay at the pump.
Whether you're crossing borders or navigating busy airports, with BTC's reliable data roaming, you're always in touch. In a fast-paced world, staying connected is key. Don't miss important moments. Stay connected effortlessly with BTC wherever your journey takes you.
The executive team of the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training hosted a vision-sharing symposium for district superintendents and education officers under the theme, Transforming Education from Vision to Action.
This is, in many ways, an historic moment in the Ministry of Education because we are now looking at the whole picture, and we're doing so in a way in which that is authentic and unique.
Symposium attendees were informed of the ministry's strategic goals, which includes curriculum reform.
It's important for me to stand here and say to you that it takes this entire village, all stakeholders, every single one of us, this village to ensure our children maximize their potential. It's professional for me, but it is also personal for me.
Education officers Sally Johnson and Wendy Bowe shared their takeaways from the summit.
One of the biggest drawbacks for me coming into this profession was this whole idea of desegregation, working in silos. And to see that now that we have a director who sees the vision of having us into one unit, and it works better, and I am elated of working together with my high school officer as well as my primary officer.
See now that we now have a language arts section where we have all of the language arts officers from primary up to high school working together to really establish a continuity of the curriculum. I think that that is very exciting, and I think that it's an excellent move on the part of the Director of Education.
Johnny McIntosh for Ed Talk.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Bahamas Striping Group of Companies.
Welcome back to the Bahamas Tonight, the weekend edition. So glad that you can tune in, and thanks for staying with us. 725 participants from the Public Service Professional Engagement Program, formerly the 52-week program, will receive letters confirming their status as public servants this month, as the Ministry of Labor and the Public Service delivers on its promise to confirm the employment status of eligible participants. The Minister of Labor and Public Service, Honorable Pia Glover-Roll, says she's committed to halting the unfair practice of keeping 52-week participants in perpetual limbo, which left hundreds of participants without job security and benefits for an extended period of time. Well, just hours before the inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump, the United States Capitol remains deadlocked with a number of road closures and traffic diversions. A robust security plan also in place across Washington, D.C. ahead of the historic moment. Well, our ZNS News team in place providing team coverage of the event. Here's Devontae Hanna.
The Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas' coverage of the inauguration of the 47th President of the United States of America is proudly brought to you by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Tourism, Bahamas Striping Group of Companies, Rocky Farms Nursery, J.S. Johnson Insurance, Janae's Fashions, Baja Retreat, and the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center of the Bahamas.
We're giving you a snapshot into what conditions are like here in Washington, D.C. just hours before the inauguration of the 47th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump, who will be sworn into office for a second term tomorrow. Now, obviously, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic here on the streets of Washington, D.C. There's very minimal movement, though people want to get to all of the events that will happen today. There's a church, a pre-inauguration church service, as well as a rally this afternoon at 5 p.m. where the president-elect is expected to make an appearance. Obviously, many people are now getting their MAGA hats. Many people are in their coats trying to make their way there. They're walking on the streets. They're trying to catch Ubers to get there. And now, what's particularly interesting about what's happening here in D.C. is that, California, many of the roads or the streets have been blocked off, just like this one here. And the armed forces are also here on the streets, restricting access, but also that is the security methods that are now being put in place. This, as the inauguration has now been moved on the inside, and as you can see, it's now snowing here in D.C., and tomorrow the inauguration will now be indoor, as it is expected to be one of the coldest ever. Now, of course, again, that inauguration now in the Capital One Arena as opposed to at Capitol Hill, and it's going to be a historic event tomorrow as we continue to cover this event. Once again, the rundown will be live from Washington, D.C. tomorrow night on inauguration night. And for right now, from D.C., I'm Devontae, and I'm going to send it back to you in studio.
Trade between the Bahamas and China reached $1.24 billion in 2024. Chinese ambassador to the Bahamas, Her Excellency Yang Jarong, highlighting the strong economic ties between the two economies as she addressed this year's Bahamas Business Outlook.
It's a year-on-year increase of 172%. More and more Chinese-made products of daily use, home building materials, and electric vehicles get into the lives of Bahamian people, enriching their choices, reducing their living costs, and helping to improve their well-being. Actually, I am not surprised by the big growth in the goods trade between China and the Bahamas, because China has become the major trade partner of more than 150 countries and regions in the world, and the total goods trade has ranked first in the world for 7 or 8 consecutive years. Chinese products are of high quality and very competitive price, welcomed by people in various countries.
With the threat of rising costs looming due to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's pledge to impose steep tariffs on Chinese imports to the United States, the ambassador says the Bahamas must diversify its import sources and expand direct trade with China.
Because Chinese market can really provide a broad stage for Bahamian producers and services. China is a prosperous market. Despite rising uncertainties in the global economy, China has been steadfastly pursuing the Chinese modernization and high-quality development. China's economy has been generally stable and continued to gain momentum. In the first 3 quarters of 2024, China's economy grew by 4.8%, which is one of the fastest among all major economies. China's economy remains a stabilizer and engine for the global economy. So this is China's greatest strength and confidence in sharing opportunities and seeking common development with the rest of the world, including the Bahamas.
Well, 12 hours after shutting itself down in the United States, TikTok is back online. Many users attributing its return to a move by President-elect Donald Trump to save the app. TikTok welcomed users back with a notification that said, "Thanks for your patience and support. As a result of President Trump's efforts, TikTok is back in the U.S." The extraordinary blackout prevented access to one of the world's most popular social media apps, one that had been used by 170 million Americans. Locally, the Bahamas was not impacted by the ban. Nonprofit organization teaming up with the University of Miami for a nationwide cleanup campaign at Adastra Gardens Saturday afternoon. Our Mauritian Burrows was there.
Litter Free Bahamas, a nonprofit organization based in Grand Bahama, expanding its roots across the country to New Providence this weekend, all in an effort to keep communities waste-free. Organization President Sandra Russell Flowers says that teamwork truly makes the dream work when it comes to creating a litter-free Bahamas.
Grand Bahamas, where we started, we have 4 strong hubs there, and this would be our first hub in New Providence. We have had conversations with one to form one in Exuma. So the whole idea is nothing can happen unless others who hear the words about Litter Free Bahamas feel that it's something they can be a part of, take action, and make it happen.
Partnering with Project Dragonfly, a Miami University graduate program focused on ecological sustainability, Litter Free Bahamas garnered 19 participants to make the Adastra Gardens grounds clean and pristine. Bahamian conservationist and graduate of the Dragonfly program, Tanoya Thompson, says the cleanup campaign is important to the long run for conservation efforts.
It's important to make sure that we're engaging the community with the work that we do, because community-based conservation is the only way that we're going to be able to keep things sustainable. We want to make sure that people understand where the resources are coming from, how to use it, how to preserve it, how to cultivate what we need so that we can have a sustainable country.
With the Bahamas now being the 16th country to make this initiative, program officials say that they are hopeful that this will be not the last, but the first of many conservation trips to come.
It's really important for visitors that come to the Bahamas to know that it's more than just a beautiful place and that there's so much work going on. And oftentimes people want to be connected to ways to help and to serve the communities that they visit. This group here, they are very, very invested in making sure that not only are they coming to visit and learn, but they're also getting to contribute to conservation work. And so to be here as a 40-year-old now and bringing people here and having students here is just a huge blessing.
For the Bahamas Tonight, I'm Mauritian Barros.
The Kiwanis Club of Nassau Kids Club giving back to the elderly in a big way. Youngsters dishing out meals to residents at a nearby nursing home. L'Oreal Colbert spoke about the group's outreach.
So we decided today to gather some of our seniors from the elderly homes along with their caretakers, and we brought some of our students from our K-Kids and from our Builders Club, which is a part of our SLB branch here at Kiwanis, and decided to let them interact with the elderly. We also fed them. We want them to foster what it means to give back and what service is all about from young. So once they, get older and matriculate out of school, they can still decide to say, hey, I want to give back because I know what Kiwanis does within the community.
Some of the nation's parents and teachers also lending a hand in a powerful demonstration of community spirit.
These kids represent what will be the future in terms of me holding this position as Lieutenant Governor. One of these young kids will be here in my position and someday. So we wanted to really interact with them and show them that they're a team from various schools. And this is about 5 different primary schools out in Bahamas. And we are throughout the whole Bahamas. Freeport, Andros, Exuma, Eleuthera, and we just want to show our togetherness and sharing this with the elderly people.
Well, hats off to a job well done. The Life of Key Foundation announcing the opening of its scholarship portal February 14th, providing numerous scholarship opportunities to Bahamian students planning to complete tertiary level degrees outside of the Bahamas. Where the process extremely competitive, successful applicants must be able to demonstrate financial need, academic merit, and exactly how their educational pursuits will benefit needs within the Bahamas. Bahamians pursuing tertiary education internationally, first-generation students and those who plan on studying programs not available at the University of the Bahamas are encouraged to apply once an acceptance letter from their intended university can be produced. Last year, the foundation invested nearly $1 million in Bahamian education, including 32 new scholars and 40 continuing scholars. For consideration, all applications must be created and submitted online at www.lifeofkeyfoundation.org by March 15th at 5 p.m. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, the weekend edition. Sports up next.
We're
here at the Nassau Village Community Center project, where over the past 17 months, we've hired over 20 Bahamian subcontractors to bring this beautiful project to fruition.
I've been living in Nassau Village for more than 19 years, and to see a project like this bring great joy and pride to me.
This state-of-the-art multi-purpose community center will serve as a crime-fighting initiative in the community. Also help with the education of our kids in this community and a hurricane shelter.
Yeah, and it also shows what we as Bahamians can achieve when we work hand in hand with each other.
We have the technical know-how, and we can pretty much deliver on any project here in the Bahamas or in the world.
Bahamas Stripe and the Bahamian Company, they prove that they believe in Bahamians.
Based on the outcome of this project, I don't think they're disappointed in giving a small person an opportunity to do a job such as this.
The more opportunity they get, the more opportunity we will get.
If you look around and see the work done so far, it just shows what we as Bahamians can do.
At Shell, we say refresh, refuel, rejoice. This Christmas, every $20 fuel up earns you a ticket to over $25,000 in joyful giveaways. Refresh your holiday mood with lavish hotel vouchers, exclusive spa treatments, and high-end shopping vouchers. Fuel up and submit your receipt by WhatsApp to 422-0271 for a chance to win with Shell. Drive to Shell, fuel up, and enter to win your share of $25,000 in giveaways for a December to remember. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to your Sunday Sports, everyone. I'm Amajal Knowles. Topping sports, the New York Yankees have secured a contract with Bahamian Jazzrado Jazz Chisholm Jr. to avoid arbitration and bring stability to the team. As it relates to Jazz, the Yankees' dynamic infielder agreed to a $5.8 million deal. The 26-year-old was acquired from the Miami Marlins at the 2024 trade deadline. Chisholm quickly became a standout in New York, making history as the first Yankees player to hit 4 home runs in the first 3 games with the team. In 46 games with the Yanks, he delivered a .273, .325, and .500 slash line, including 11 home runs, 23 RBIs, and 18 stolen bases. Chisholm transitioned to third base after joining the Yankees, a position he had never played professionally. Despite the shift, he adapted quickly and solidified the Yankees' infield. So Bahamian athletes inking deals. The Washington Commanders signed Bahamian wide receiver Mike Strawn to a reserve future contract on Friday. Strawn, a former 7th-round selection by the Indianapolis Colts in the 2021 NFL Draft out of Charleston, spent the first 2 years of his NFL career with the Colts before playing in 4 games with the Carolina Panthers in 2023. Now, the 27-year-old will not be eligible to play with Washington in the playoffs, but he'll be hoping to stick around with the organization beyond training camp next summer. He did not appear in any NFL games in 2024. In his 3 NFL campaigns, Strawn has produced 6 receptions on 15 targets for 130 yards and no touchdowns. He hopes to serve as receiver depth heading into training camp. With Griffith Fast approaching, concerns raised about safety in the host country of Trinidad, NACAC President Mike Sands, in a recent interview with Zenith, told Sports, seeming to quell any red flags raised about the games.
I'm in constant communication with Trinidad and Lucia on a daily basis, and they don't have any major concern, and I'm comforted by the reports that they give me, and I mean on a daily basis. The state of emergency obviously is designed to try to manage the escalating system that all of our area is feeling in terms of, some level of violence and discontent with the citizenry. But they've assured us that everything is in order. There's no curfew. There's no a situation against public gathering, and of course the athletes will be protected. And so Trinidad is being prepared. They're getting ready. The track is being resurfaced, and so they're focusing on putting on a good event, and the security is being left to the security forces, who are there also in constant communication with. And so I have a reasonable level of comfort that the event will go off under well situations.
More from Sands in Monday's Sportscast. That's been a look at your sports on this Sunday. A check on weather when we return.
Here at Immigration Care Service, you can trust us, especially if you have experienced issues or problems with the U.S. immigration at the borders. We'll do our best to provide options and solutions to immigration roadblocks so travelers can continue visiting the U.S. and residents can continue living their lives in the U.S. without worries. The best part? Our services are affordable and accessible. Take the mystery, confusion, and fear out of your immigration concerns. Contact Immigration Care Service today.
Hi, I'm Brent Burrows, Vice President of Retail and Sales at CBS Bahamas and the CBS Pro Store. Not only do we guarantee the best prices on all your favorite building materials, but we're proud to offer the best delivery program in all of Nassau. Whether you buy one box of screws or a truckload of plywood, island-wide delivery is just $5. And for our Family Island customers, we're proud to offer complimentary drop-off to the mailboat of your choice. Visit us today at the CBS Pro Store on Robinson Road and check out our website to set up your next delivery.
Good to grow, keeping you in the know, keeping you in the know. God, it's good enough to eat, then it's good to grow. It's good enough to eat, then it's good to grow.
Meet Agriculture Extension Officer Ariana Knowles. She recently returned from a seminar all the way in China on international trade for agricultural products.
The seminar was for 21 days. There was about 19 participants from 7 different countries. There was 2 participants from the Bahamas. Me and another person was selected to attend the seminar.
During the seminar, the group visited 4 cities in China where they toured a number of factories and farms.
Well, the most interesting company for me was a poultry production. It was a company called Nanyang Food Co. And they basically do breeding. They do breeding, boiler production, and from like the chicken farms and stuff like that, they use like the waste from, not the chicken farms, the waste from like the factory. They use that to like make fertilizers and stuff like that.
And with gaining a wealth of knowledge in this seminar, here's what Knowles thinks we can implement here in the Bahamas to improve the agricultural sector.
Adopt modern farming technology, enhance education and training to farmers, like workshops on sustainable farming practices, pest management, and technology use. Also invest in irrigation systems, which will be very useful to many farmers so they don't have to depend on weather conditions to get water for their farms.
Keeping you in the know with Good to Grow, I'm Leah Cooper.
Time now for a check on tonight's weather forecast. Chief Meteorologist Basil Dean joins us in studio with the latest temperatures. Good evening, Basil.
Good evening, Desmond. We have partly cloudy skies, temperature warm, 82 degrees, the relative humidity at 76%. The winds out of the south at 12 miles per hour. The barometric pressure, 1,018.0 millibars. That is 30.06 inches. And your temperatures around the islands have some homogeneous temperatures in the extreme northern. 78 in Freeport, Grand Bahama, Green Tool Key, and also in Marsh, Barbacoa, the Berry Islands at 78. Alice Bimini, 77. 77 again in Harper Island. Roxanne, Eleuthera, 79. Fresh Creek, Central Andros at 82 degrees, 88 in Kemp Space on Andros and Black Point, Exuma, Otterstown, Cat Island, 80, 80s in San Salvador, and Rum Key, Georgetown, Exuma, 82 degrees, 82s in Ragged Island, Clarence Sound, Long Island, and Crooked Island, Betsy Bay, Maguana, 81, Acklands, 81, Matthew Tiny Nagua, 79 degrees, and the Turks and Caicos Islands at 81 degrees. And your boating forecast tonight in the northwestern islands, those winds, they're going to be southwest to west at 15 to 20 knots, so caution flags remain in place for your boaters in the northwestern islands. The high tide that will take place at 11:58 tonight. And then for the central and southeastern islands, southeast to south winds, 12 to 18 knots, the wave height 3 to 6 feet. So that caution flag also extends into the central and southeastern islands tonight. And then tomorrow in the northwestern islands, we will see the winds become northerly as after that front passes, wave heights at 4 to 7 feet over the ocean. The low tide tomorrow will occur at 6:09 in the morning with the high tide at 12:04 in the afternoon. For the central islands, light and variable winds, flat seas. For the southeast Bahamas, easterly winds 10 to 15 knots, the wave heights 2 to 4 feet. And we go to our satellite picture, and you can see the leading edge of that cloud associated with that frontal boundary is approaching the northwest Bahamas. That will push through later on tonight. And if it holds up, we might, and I say we might get 1 or 2 passing showers as that front pushes through. Forecast for tonight, partly cloudy, a bit on the warm side. That's on the south side of that frontal system. A couple of showers likely, but we're not quite sure whether we'll get any here in the capital, maybe around the Grand Bahama and the Abaco areas. 72 degrees for your low temperature, and then tomorrow it's going to be partly sunny, still very breezy with a couple of afternoon showers. 78 degrees for the high temperature, and the extended weather forecast. It's going to be a mixed bag of cloud and sunshine right through Tuesday. We get a bit more low-level clouds floating in on Wednesday. That's ahead of, yes, another frontal system, which will go through actually on Thursday night, and that will cool things down briefly, so we'll see those temperatures in the upper 60s during the nighttime. And then another front goes through on Thursday evening, and that will linger into Friday, where we can get some morning showers and temperatures once again dropping into the 60s before we see yet another front. So there's going to be a series of frontal systems passing through over the next several days. Desmond.
Thanks, Basil. That ends the Bahamas Tonight, the weekend edition. We thank you for continuing to make ZNS your first choice for news and information, as only the sun covers the Bahamas better than ZNS. On behalf of the entire team, thanks for watching. Have a good night.
At Fort Montague, I'm Opal Roach. This is ZNS.